What's up, you guys? This is RIŽIK, and I wanted to give you an updated tour on my live rig right now. A lot of folks on social media have noticed that I've made some changes to this, and I want to explain what I changed and why I did it. Let's just start right with my rhythm section here. Again, this is a fully live electronic rig here. On the rhythm side, we have the Roland TR8-S. That has not changed. It's my favorite drum machine because of its playability. It's very interesting and fun because everything is so right in front of you and tactile. And I think my favorite part about it is that you can upload all your own sounds and samples into it and make your own custom kits. On the bottom is the Novation base station. This has not changed philosophically, although the actual unit has, because as you can see here, my cutoff filter knob, well, I think I was going a little too hard and it broke. But this being a whole hardware set, a whole hardware rig, I need to learn how to repair these things, especially something as simple as that. So I'm currently in the shop, I guess you can say, with the base station. Moving along to the mixer. Speaking of things breaking, not this particular one, but I've been a fan of the Xone series mixers for a while. I've been using the Xone PX5 mixer in my setup, although a couple weeks ago, channel 2 went out on me. And while it was getting repaired, I had borrowed a friend's DJM V10 mixer from Pioneer. And while it definitely sounded great, you know, it sounded very loud and big. Big is the word, because it was like this big and just took up so much room in my whole rig here, but it just didn't feel good. I gotta say that the Pioneer styles for me, they feel very loose and they feel very light. Just not a fan of that. Whereas the Xones have always felt very sturdy to me. And I also needed to upgrade because my whole synth arrangement here, it does require 6 ins, and I was really pushing it with the PX5 that basically was only 4 plus 1, and I was really like doubling up certain channels. This has freed things up. Not to mention, in terms of freeing things up, I actually removed the compressor. I had an RNC compressor on the last unit, but ever since I got the 96, the headroom has just been so much more expansive, and the separation of all the tracks has been very noticeable to the point where I found out that this was squashing my sound. And that's just something to kind of think about as we do these hardware setups is, you know, we're going to have so much trial and error. I mean, just yesterday I was trying to figure out how to do program changes on the MC6 Pro, which I'll show you in a second, and only just to end the session by basically giving up. The mixer, it does not have any built-in effects, so I need to use external effects for all my music here. So I'm sticking with the Eventide Space. It's like you just can't go wrong with this thing. There's so many reverbs here, so many are very lush, and I like to make lush sounds. What did go is I swapped out the hologram microcosm pedal in favor of the Strymon Timeline. To me, this is like meat and potatoes for effects. Like, I feel like even though this thing has 4 different sends that I can have different effects on, I feel like having reverb for space and delay for effectively creating fills and using them in interesting textural ways is all I really need. Meat and potatoes, delay, reverb, I think you're done, but the Strymon is awesome because it has MIDI in, which means it can sync to the drum machine, which, by the way, the drum machine is sending clock to everything. Speaking of clock, why don't we just go to literally a clock here. I have my timer here, which you might be wondering, why is there a kitchen table timer on my rig here? Well, as I start playing more live sets, I just want to get a better feel and sense of, like, if I'm playing a song or I'm in a set and it feels like 30 minutes, I want to glance down and be like, yeah, it's about 30 minutes or so. I want to know what that feels like. And I want to get pretty precise with it because as I start playing more shows, I have a very limited amount of time sometimes, whether it's an hour, 90 minutes, and I need to know how much time I really have left to work with. So I'm just trying to get better at timing my overall sets, because when I've done live streams, I've just noticed sometimes I find myself like rushing to the end when I can let things breathe a bit more. And also on the timing side, if the camera wants to come down to this MioXM, speaking of clock, this is basically the engine oil to this whole machine here. I'm having clock coming from the TR8-S drum machine into the MioXM, and this is splitting the signal all the different ways to all the different devices so that everything is in sync with each other. That is an upgrade. I was using a standard MIDI splitter, but the MioXM has come to be far more robust and frankly far more reliable. The other thing that hasn't changed here is I'm using the Blumes from Earthquaker Devices to send some grit, some distortion to the base station. That was there, and it's probably never going to go because I just love how MIDI makes everything sound. Moving on to the keyboards, we have the Nord Stage 4, my absolute dream keyboard. I've always wanted this thing, and it feels incredible to play, and whatever is in my brain, it's just the quickest way to get out from a compositional standpoint. This whole rig philosophically started because I didn't want to be on a laptop anymore, because I am a drummer first, and I wanted to recreate that tactile experience of being in a band, but as a live electronic musician. And then this is just, to me, has been the most rewarding instrument because it is such a great feeling and sounding instrument. It is the lifeblood of my whole system here because it's where all the composition really kind of happens. Right above it is the Novation Summit. Nothing to sneeze about either. This is a very powerful synthesizer that I'm yet to find its limitations for, considering how many voices it has. And again, as you can see, all the hands-on ability. This whole rig is built on hands-on, no menu diving, no laptop or software intervention, only software support when needed. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of the MIDI stuff I have going on. Like I said, this is a full hardware setup, but I do have one channel here dedicated towards MIDI. And what MIDI is doing is I use the DJ Tech Tools Midifighter 3D here, the Spectre, and I use it for various things ranging from different effects to vocal samples. And I also use their Midifighter Twister here to do different effects on those different MIDI triggers. So you have delay, wash, reverb, low cut. And it's just a great little pairing to ensure that sometimes if I want the mixer to stay dry, to incorporate the MIDI strings right over here, but I want the vocal samples to have some wetness or delay, I can control them independently. So that was the intentionality of having this dedicated just for the vocal layer. And yeah, again, over here, I have a MIDI controller that's pulling in mostly strings. Because the folks over in Berlin at Orchestral Tools make just the greatest string libraries known to man. And I'm yet to find a library on any hardware instrument that sounds as good as them. So I use this primarily for strings. Once in a while, maybe I'll pull another kind of synth from the Arturia library if needed, but for the most part, this is just strings that I want to incorporate. And then right above is the famous and lovely Sub 37. I was only using this for leads, although now I decided to run some MIDI to it, and now it is also running on clock. So now I'm starting to incorporate some ARPs, some fun bass lines. Sometimes, by the way, I'll switch. Sometimes this will be running bass and this will be running leads. Sometimes they'll swap. This will be running a bass because the Sub 37 just is so meaty when it comes to bass lines. And this will be running an ARP or something like that, or this will be a lead. So it's nice to know I have some versatility here between the two. And then beneath that is the Earthquaker Devices Avalanche run for dedicated reverb and delay on just the Sub 37, because again, I may want a certain delay timing to be different than the timing on the Strymon Timeline. Just more individuality, I guess you can say. I don't want everything to be so locked into the same system sometimes, because sometimes the coolest things happen when I have, you know, one delay that's on a certain time and it's countering and almost like ping-ponging off another time. Just keeping things open and flexible. That was another huge part of this whole rig's philosophy I wanted to share. And the thing I mentioned earlier, this is what I was using, the MC6 Pro, to do program changes. Basically, since this is a live hardware setup, and if I'm in the middle of a set, what I was doing, which was very clunky and I don't recommend it, is I was just like looking for presets as I was playing live, memorizing, you know, different presets. Like I don't really have songs per se queued up all the time, although I have certain songs that I've prepared. For the most part, I have just color palettes, and I expect just to have the right colors, and from there, I don't know what I'll paint per se. It kind of depends what's happening in the crowd. But what I did want to start doing is that I had a certain group of colors I just knew worked together well. Rather than finding them all individually, I wanted to recall them. So I had the MC6 Pro here, which is a very powerful MIDI device that effectively allows you to do anything with MIDI. And it just wasn't working out for me. I was just banging my head against the wall, couldn't figure out how to send program changes in a reliable way. So now I have turned to Ableton to set up scenes that only trigger MIDI program changes. Ableton is not doing anything musically outside of recording me. It's a glorified tape machine. And when I press a button on the Midifighter Twister here, it'll change all the synths to a specific preset that I've created. So now I have a certain array of colors. But outside of that, Ableton is recording me. It's triggering the VSTs here and the vocal samples here. And I actually want to show you Ableton real quickly to show you what it's doing to support a live hardware setup like this. Now, what I do differently than most people create music on the software, and then they figure out how to reverse engineer it and play it live. My philosophy is completely the opposite. I play live 100%, and then I extract the artifacts of my live performances. And if there's something I really want to contain, I will effectively take the stems of those things and then produce them later. So how is that set up in Ableton? So right now, everything is going through a master. So this is basically the Xone 96, just everything that's happening on the mixer itself. But then I've separated it into stems. I have the TR8-S, the drum machine, but even that breaks down further to the kick, the snare, the hi-hats, etc. So all the individual outs are coming into Ableton, so I can record absolutely everything. And then, of course, all the different synths, the bass station, the Nord, the Summit, and the Moog are all coming in clean. And then the strings are coming in as a VST, so I have those coming in as MIDI. Same thing with the Midifighter as well. And the last thing I'll show you here, when it comes to program changes, as you can see, I have program changes here for the Nord, the Summit, the bass station, and the Sub 37. I don't need one for the drum machine because I do change sounds in the drum machine, but that's something that happens very subtly. Sometimes I'll just swap out a kick. I don't really need a whole program change for that, at least not yet. And then the patterns are things I just kind of make on the fly. So I don't know, to me, at least at this stage, I feel like it'd be kind of robbing me of the fun of just like finding patterns on the fly if I just kind of like pre-program them. And philosophically, to be kind of against what I'm about here right now. So you'll have a scene here. When a scene is triggered, all it's doing is it's sending the program change to all the synths and switching all the presets. There's no music coming from Ableton whatsoever, only sounds on the strings and the vocals. The rest is there to support the infrastructure of this live rig here. That's basically it. I just wanted to give you an update on what's new, what's staying, philosophically how this is working. If you want to see some more videos about what this sounds like, check out the channel, plenty of videos there. And if you have any questions about how I've set this up, or if you're trying to build your own live electronic rig, or just live rig in general, happy to meet you in the comments and talk about what we're doing here, because I really do believe in this format of live, performed and improvised and experimental music. And you know what, just more than anything, it's just fun. It's so fun to do. I am a drummer first, man. And I was always looking for a way to experience electronic music in a way that kept it fun and interesting for me. And you don't need to go overboard like this. I'm gonna be very clear, you don't need all this stuff to do this, man. But if you are interested in building a live electronic rig, leave a comment, let me know what you're working with. I've tested a lot of gear at this point, happy to give you some feedback on that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.